I have a tracker that moved. I think it went in the water.
Whoa.
Russ and Maria are gonna go across the mainland to follow this tracker. I don't think my work is done here. I think there are more Bigfoot here on this island.
The show, Expedition Bigfoot, was suddenly stopped after the team stumbled upon something terrifying in the deep woods. Their equipment, quiet for days, suddenly picked up strange signals that left everyone on edge. What they discovered could be the most convincing proof of Bigfoot yet. But what could have been so scary that it made the team give up and leave? Let us dive into the eerie events that led to the show's abrupt end and the final explanation of the most famous legend. Bigfoot clues found deep in the forest. The team was becoming more certain that it wasn't just one, but several Bigfoot creatures living on the island. Their trek into the dense wild forest was filled with high tension. Right at the start, they encountered a frightening scene: scattered bones and remnants of flesh, signs of a brutal occurrence. This grim discovery deepened their worries and pushed them closer to the answers they were seeking. As they went further, the darkness of the forest seemed to thicken around them. The discovery of a massive, clearly non-human handprint in the mud became their most solid evidence yet. Russ and Maria understood how crucial this was. It was real evidence of the creature's existence, as tangible as the ground it had disturbed. This wasn't a small find, it was a critical breakthrough showing the presence of a strong and potentially dangerous creature. The impact of this discovery was immediate. An excited Maria shared the news with Ronnie, who quickly joined them on the island. He was amazed by the size of the handprint and even more by their next find. Nearby knuckle prints indicated the creature moved in ways that were like both humans and apes, a mix of traits from both. Last year, Mara had noticed similar features when comparing a Bigfoot skull to those of humans and apes, pointing out significant similarities. These new discoveries supported her earlier observations and suggested a complex creature capable of sophisticated movements. The complexity of their mission increased when Russ noticed not just one, but two distinct sets of tracks. It was now clear multiple creatures were moving through this isolated wilderness. Spurred by this realization, the team increased their efforts. They took photos, measured, and analyzed each track in detail. Despite the tough and hard-to-reach terrain, they speculated that the creatures might be using the river as a pathway, possibly looking for shelter or food in the valley. This theory directed their strategy. They decided to focus their search in the valley, aiming to uncover these hidden beings. With a limited time and dwindling supplies, they started a bold plan, using drones equipped with heat-sensing cameras to scan the area from above, while ground teams carefully searched along the riverbanks. The atmosphere was electrified as they started their strategic move. Bryce was in charge of the drone operations, coordinating the teams via radio. Every sound and movement in the forest raised the stakes. They were not just watching, they were actively hunting, driven by a mix of scientific interest and a basic urge to uncover. When the drone's heat-sensing camera caught a vaguely human-shaped figure moving through the trees, their anticipation peaked. Was this the moment they would make contact, or were they just chasing shadows pulled deeper into a quest that might end with unclear results? As the operation went on, the scale of their challenge became apparent. They were a small group up against the powerful forces of nature, trying to reveal truths about beings that might prefer to stay hidden. Their endeavor brought up major questions about living together, protecting the environment, and the human desire to explore and understand the hidden parts of our world. In their rush to meet these concealed beings, they considered the possibility that some truths, like the true nature of Bigfoot, might choose to stay hidden, protected by the deep, untouched parts of the forest. The drone and ground teams worked closely together, with the drone circling over the valley and the ground teams following the river's path. This dual approach ensured thorough coverage of the vast 20,000-acre valley, surrounded by towering 3,000-foot mountains. Each team member was fully aware of the stakes, their senses sharpened by the slim chance of meeting these unusual beings face to face. Throughout this intense search, the big question of what they might ultimately discover loomed large. Would they be able to confirm Bigfoot's existence, or would their findings lead to more questions than answers? The pursuit of Bigfoot, like many efforts to probe the unknown, presented challenges, not least the chance that their search could alter the very phenomena they aimed to understand. As they pressed forward, the team had to consider not only the scientific and ecological impacts of their quest, but also the ethical aspects of chasing such hard-to-find creatures. The hunt for Bigfoot was more than just a search for proof. It was an exploration of the complex interactions between human curiosity and the hidden worlds of nature. With their recent find still fresh in their minds, the team found themselves following a new lead that pointed to even bigger challenges ahead. A night chase in the dark forest. As they got closer to their goal, a sudden movement in the thick forest redirected their attention to an even more hidden and hard-to-find target. With the night setting in, an unexpected sighting from the drone guided them toward a new twist in their search. As Ronnie, Mara, and Russ walked along the river's edge, Bryce and his team were busy operating a drone equipped with a thermal camera high above the dense forest canopy of the valley. They spotted something moving swiftly through the trees several miles from Mara and Russ's location. The drone team quickly shared their findings with Mara, suggesting that the Bigfoot creatures might be heading toward the glacier. With this new information, Mara and Russ quickly changed their route to try and intercept the figure that Bryce had spotted. Meanwhile, on the other side of the valley, Ronnie was making his way through a thickly wooded area. The night was dark, and the only sounds were the breaking of branches and the rustling of leaves underfoot. His progress was slow due to the darkness, but help was on the way. Bryce redirected the drone to Ronnie's location and used its technology to improve visibility in the low light. The drone's thermal camera picked up heat signatures from the area, hinting at the presence of something or someone. At first, the images were unclear, but as the drone focused on Ronnie's location, a clear pattern of movement emerged, sparking more interest from the team. The thermal images showed rapid movements, suggesting that whatever was there was moving quickly. Just when the drone was about to get a closer look, it lost the trail. This sudden disappearance of the trail made Ronnie even more curious, prompting him to dive deeper into the dense forest, eager for a direct encounter with whatever creature was out there. Recognizing the need for a more detailed examination, Bryce decided it was crucial to accompany Ronnie on the ground. As Ronnie traced the sounds to their origin, he encountered large footprints that clearly indicated the recent presence of a hefty creature. The vicinity around these footprints was cluttered with shattered branches, reflecting the creature's substantial size and power. The vast distance between each footprint suggested that the creature possessed an exceptional stride. Armed with a handheld thermal camera, Ronnie attempted to scan the dense forest around him, hoping the creature was still nearby. However, the thick foliage posed a significant challenge, as the dense branches and leaves not only obscured his view, but also interfered with the thermal signals. Struggling to secure a better perspective, Ronnie was initially startled by a figure approaching him through the trees. Initially, he suspected it might be the Bigfoot, but it turned out to be Bryce, who had come down to help. They discussed their findings and resolved to follow the trail they believed the Bigfoot had taken. Motivated by the potential of a direct encounter with the creature, they proceeded with increased determination. Their path, illuminated solely by their flashlights, meandered through rugged terrain until they reached a well-trodden trail that appeared to be regularly used by the Bigfoot, especially near the glacier. As they advanced, they stumbled upon a gruesome sight. A freshly eliminated animal, its blood vivid against the snow, saturating the earth around it. Encountering such a sight in the domain of a potentially dangerous predator was unsettling. Nevertheless, Ronnie and Bryce, keeping their focus on their task, managed to maintain their composure. They scrutinized the sight and surmised that the victim was likely an elk or a Sitka blacktail deer. Among the remains, a notably snapped rib bone initiated a discussion about the immense force required to cause such damage and the potential motives behind it. This observation reminded them of historical evidence suggesting that early humans broke bones to extract marrow, a nutrient-rich substance crucial for brain development during the Stone Age, a fundamental behavior for human evolution. This insight led Ronnie and Bryce to contemplate the possibility that they were not merely tracking an ordinary animal, but a being that exhibited behaviors akin to those of early humans. This theory was supported by prior discoveries of volcanic glass tools in nearby caves, which the creatures likely used to cut meat, mirroring early human practices. This enhanced their understanding of the complexity of the entity they were pursuing. As the night went on, their next discovery showed a creature more complex and unpredictable than they had imagined. Evidence of a big predator found. They were not simply chasing a legendary beast, they were on the path of a being that blurred the lines between animal instincts and human-like intelligence. The dual nature of Bigfoot not only expanded the scope of their search, but also provided insights into the interconnected evolution of humans and these elusive beings, potentially shedding light on the behaviors of our own ancestors. Their night of tracking led to a disturbing yet insightful discovery, drawing them closer to the creatures they sought and intensifying the stakes of their exploration. When Ronnie, Bryce, Maria, and Russ arrived at the location, they were astounded by what they witnessed. The scene bore no resemblance to the aftermath of a typical animal attack. Bones and blood were strewn all over the area, indicating that something much larger and more formidable than a wolf, bear, or big cat was involved. They gathered some bones for further analysis, aiming to decipher what could have caused such devastation. This scenario was more than just a matter of being at the right place at the right time. It was essential for understanding the behavior patterns of extraordinary predators, those beyond ordinary wildlife. Reports from locals and fresh evidence suggested the creature might be Bigfoot, who could have chosen this area for its abundant food sources and excellent concealment opportunities. Driven by determination and curiosity, Maria and Russ opted to pursue the trail as far as possible, while Ronnie and Bryce decided to remain behind to conduct a more thorough examination of the attack site. They noticed peculiarities. Essential parts of the prey were missing, and there were no traces of the carcass being dragged away. This led to a daunting realization that the creature might have picked up and transported its prey, a behavior characteristic of intelligent, large predators. Recent thermal images that seemed to capture this creature intensified their suspicions. Convinced of the need to delve deeper, they prepared to explore further for additional clues. The investigation by Bryce and Ronnie took a dramatic turn when they detected noises nearby. Struck by a mix of apprehension and anticipation, they quickly employed their thermal camera to investigate the area. Unfortunately, their search was fruitless. The creature continued to elude them. Still, they advanced toward the source of the noise, eager to gather any data that might clarify the creature's habitat and habits. As the early light of dawn began to clarify the forest, Ronnie and Bryce, though exhausted, recognized that the daylight might reveal details that the darkness had concealed. Concurrently, Maria and Russ, also nearing their physical limits, persisted in their pursuit. They had been on the creature's trail all night with minimal rest. Their perseverance was commendable, yet the creature skillfully avoided detection. The soft snow, ideal for capturing clear footprints, was strangely undisturbed, compounding their frustration. Suddenly, their cameraman spotted a brief movement along the ice ridge. He alerted Russ, who caught a fleeting glimpse of something or someone that quickly vanished again. This brief sighting of a humanoid figure was a critical lead, prompting Maria and Russ to venture further into the icy wilderness, driven by the chance to uncover more about this strange being. Crossing a glacier filled with deep gaps and completely unwelcoming to most forms of life was quite a challenge. Despite its harshness, this frigid, rough terrain was the perfect hiding place for a creature wanting to avoid human contact. While Russ and Maria pushed forward with their trek, Ronnie and Bryce chose to stay at their original location. Their persistence was rewarded when they spotted a high claw mark on a tree, distinctly different from the usual bear marks, which typically appear in parallel lines. The stakes were higher than ever as they pushed their limits, heading into an icy area that held clues to a long-sought truth. Searching an ice cave for Bigfoot. On the other side of the glacier, having completed their steep climb, Maria and Russ were keen to close the distance to the elusive creature they were tracking. The icy conditions of the glacier posed a significant survival challenge, only suitable for animals with thick, insulating fur, while humans found it extremely tough due to the intense cold. After traversing the icy landscape for a long period, Maria noticed an ice cave, an exciting potential find. If this cave turned out to be a shelter for Bigfoot, it would be an incredible discovery. Armed with new leads, the team moved toward what they hoped would be the creature's refuge, bracing themselves for the rugged terrain ahead. As they approached the ice cave, Maria and Russ realized why this spot was so favorable for hiding and quick escapes. There was a source of flowing fresh water nearby which could provide essential resources for survival. Now, more convinced than ever that they might be on the verge of a significant discovery, they began a thorough search around the cave for any signs of Bigfoot. They felt they were close to a major breakthrough and committed to examining every possible spot for hiding. However, the challenge was enormous. The surrounding mountainous area was simply too vast to explore entirely on foot. Realizing the limitations of a ground search, they decided to use a helicopter. Their producer arranged for a helicopter from a service in Juneau, a sensible decision given the large area they needed to cover. Once in the air, they carefully scanned the landscape below, hoping to spot any sign of Bigfoot before it could retreat into the dense forest. The snow-covered ground below made it easier to spot any unusual movements. They remained alert, understanding that their window to make a discovery was limited. As the helicopter transitioned from the glacier to the edge of the forest, they maintained a vigilant watch. Despite the clear visibility and their concentrated effort, they detected no movement. After a night of intense searching and monitoring, they ended without spotting anything. Not giving up, they made another pass over the area, but again no signs of movement were detected. It seemed the creature was very good at staying hidden or had already moved deeper into the forest before they could spot it. This was disappointing as they had been so close to potentially learning something significant about this hard-to-find creature but missed the crucial moment. Despite this setback, the team wasn't completely discouraged, as the experience had taught them a lot and would surely be beneficial for future searches. 3 weeks after getting back home, while the rest of the team had moved on to other projects, Bryce stayed focused on reviewing the data they had collected. Ronnie and Maria had installed exceptionally sensitive microphones in the forest, capable of picking up the faintest sounds, much more advanced than typical recording equipment. Bryce carefully went through the audio files from their expedition. At first, he heard only normal forest noises, like the chirping of birds. But soon he discovered something extraordinary, a deep, unclear voice on one of the recordings. Initially, it seemed like just background noise, but then a distinct, deep voice became apparent. This recording might be the first real auditory evidence of Bigfoot. Bryce enhanced the sound quality for better clarity and analyzed it further. Since they had not encountered any other people that night, the strange voice likely belonged to Bigfoot. Excited and confused by this discovery, Bryce reached out to Dr. Ronald Cosper, a linguist known for his work on rare and complex languages, who had previously claimed to have translated phrases attributed to Bigfoot. Dr. Cosper's expertise made him the perfect person to help decipher the audio. Dr. Cosper suggested that the voices sounded human or nearly human, which intrigued Bryce. He was eager to understand what the captured words meant. Dr. Cosper identified some of the words as waves, flat, and kumba. They discussed how environmental factors like distance, ambient noise, and air pressure might have affected the sounds, but it appeared they had captured Bigfoot's communication. Dr. Cosper also noted that the recording seemed to include two different voices, with one saying kumba and another mentioning flat and waves. This suggested the presence of more than one creature, a theory supported by other evidence collected that night. Bryce shared these additional findings with Dr. Cosper, reinforcing the idea of multiple creatures communicating in the area. Is the sudden shutdown of Expedition Bigfoot just a coincidence, or did the team uncover something so terrifying that it had to be kept hidden? Could there be forces at play that don't want the truth about Bigfoot to come out? Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more.